Yeah, that personal relationship is going to play a factor. But if it's a, hey, my services cost $10,000 for me to help you represent you in this, they might think twice and they might go to someone that has a better rep. The other piece is that just because agents are going out of the business, those part-time agents or whatnot, doesn't mean that the competition is going to get any less for the agents that remain. It's actually going to get more fierce because now it doesn't mean that that market share is just going to flow right to you as an agent or me as an agent. It's going to flow to whoever can represent themselves the best. And so that's where setting yourself apart from the crowd is going to be more important than ever. It's going to be just, and that's going to be through not only customer service, but it's going to be through how do you market yourself? Is your brand recognizable? Is there marketing that's surrounding that person, that team, that brand, that brokerage that attracts those buyers to you and builds trust with them so that way they want to do business for you and they say, this agent is willing to put the dollars behind, right? I'm pulling dollars out of my pocket now to have them represent me. This is a brand that I trust, right? Versus just in the past, they haven't had to necessarily pay for that agent. And therefore the choice was a little easier.
I agree. And I love the way you're framing that as it is now a business decision and it puts it into the onus of the buyer and for them to make that decision and say, okay, well, if I'm going to pay you this, then what do I get out of it? What's the value? What are you bringing? What are you doing besides just opening doors, showing me homes? Like you're going to have to represent and come at a higher caliber and say, yeah, it's not only negotiating skills, it's not just, scheduling, but it's all of these other components, knowing what's coming down the line, 3 steps ahead and keeping your dream and your timeline, everything in sync with buying your home. And, if I want commission XYZ and like you said, maybe the seller has the contingency of adding that on. Even on the other side of the seller, how long do you want your property to stay on the market? If you're not offering anything for the buyer's agent, then that's another aspect that comes into play of there's a lot of knowledge. And I feel like this is exactly what you're saying of it's an excellent time for agents to know that, really soak that up and be able to convey that to their clients and say, look, this is what's going on. It's not just what you're hearing on the news that you don't have to pay commission. There's more to it, which affects you as the buyer and also would affect you as the seller. And when you have that opportunity to really create, clarity around that for your clients and flex your value, now you're winning them over. And then you add that in with, like you're saying, a brand that they can trust and even further, because if you think of a brand, you can think of a brokerage brand, but then how do you niche into, well, who's the agent that I want? Right. So it's even more for that agent to say, hey, not only am I with a trusted brand, but I'm the expert that comes top of mind. Like, think of me when you're ready to buy, sell, invest, whatever, flip. So I love that you're framing it as a business decision all of a sudden. And it's valuable, for the agents to really show up at a different caliber. Yeah. Part-time agents, either step up, step it up, because you're
Yeah.
getting the handouts from your
And I
family.
think you touched on a point in there about clients in general. The public perception, right, is that agents are just door openers, right? Like, oh wow, they go, I schedule a showing, they open the door for me. Great. What else are they doing for me, right? That's been public perception. That's been the media's perception, or at least what they like to convey. It's clickbaity, that sort of thing. It kind of feeds the masses. But I think what's going to happen here is there's going to be a really quick realization that real agents, real professional agents that know their business, that hone their craft, they're much more than door openers, right? Because when a buyer signs that agreement, or when a seller for that matter, when anybody enters into a contract, right, there are strict rules and timelines. There are contractual obligations that if you don't act quickly, in many cases, when you sign a contract, for example, it's like within the first 5 to 7 days, you need to have certain things done. In some cases, within the first 3 days. And if you don't have someone there letting you know you need to do this, or hey, this is your right to ask for this, or whatever it may be, those buyers or sellers are going to be in hot water and they're going to be facing some lawsuits or and things like that. And so, but the key here is that one, that realization is going to come about, hopefully. And two, that again, when that does start to happen, that presence of brand and that trusted brand, it's going to be imperative because that's where, for those clients, because that's where they're going to flock to, right? And you want to be, as an agent, you want to be that person that embodies that, right? That when someone goes to my Instagram page, or they go to your Facebook, or they go to your Google reviews, or they go and see, your personal website, what does that represent? Like, do you have a cohesive image that goes, yes, this looks like XYZ product I trust in my clothing brand or my shoes
Right.
or whatever it may be, the cars that I buy, right? Is that someone that I want to do business with? Is that a business that I want to put my dollars into and do business with and trust that they're going to handle me with care? Because now I realize there is much more to this thing. It's a several $100,000 or millions of dollars in purchases that are at stake here. And if I mess up, I misstep on this thing because I don't know this contract, right? As a lay consumer, I could be faced with tens of thousands of dollars in lawsuits or problems.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I love that you're saying that. It really comes down to a lot of that is consistency. How are you showing up? Show up in consistency, and you talked about like the car or a brand that you would wear and just lending an ear to even out that outside of real estate. You don't see brands, Coca-Cola does purple one day and then red the next day and then blue. That no, it's consistent.